Hello and happy, I believe, Wednesday. It's Wednesday today. And I'm so excited that you're here with us right now. Hi, my name is Gigi Fusco-Mies. I am the Director of Community and Donor Relations for 3D Theatricals. And in the real world, we are the resident performing arts group at the Cerritos Center for the Performing Arts. We can't wait to come back so we can get together our production of Newsies, get that on stage, and we can all gather. But in the meantime, yes, thank you, Brittany. I appreciate that. In the meantime, we've been really happy to provide these 3D+U sessions. And today I'm thrilled for you. We're so honored and thrilled to have him with us last week for a great audition tutorial. And we're going to have a great session with him today. He is such a dear, such a talent, and such an inspiration. So everybody, would love to introduce to you your instructor for the afternoon, Harrison White. Harrison, they're all yours.
Thank you, Gigi. Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining me today. For those of you who were with me last week, thank you for coming back. I'm really happy to see your face. I am really thrilled to be doing this again. So today we're talking about self-taping, the new normal. That's what I call it. I call it the new normal because that's what's been going on for the last couple of years. In fact, I've been doing it for the last, I want to say 3 years. I got myself a residence in Atlanta. So I got myself an Atlanta agent. And so I've been doing a lot of self-taping through them for the past couple of years, and booked a couple of things, which have been a lot of fun. So it's been a payoff. So I'm going to break today's subjects down into 2 sections. One session, I'm going to talk about what you need to have in order to do self-tape and why you should do it if you decide to go forward with it. And then the second session, we're going to be talking about how to approach the process and what to do in that approach. And then we'll do question and answers like we did last time, and hopefully we'll have more time for me to answer questions if you have. So like the first class, like last week, I'm going to ask all of you, if you don't have, get yourself a pen and pad, please. Now, let's do that now so that you won't miss out. And so if you have any questions or any information that you want me to write down, yay, questions that you want to ask, if you have any questions that you want answered, or anything that you need, information you need written down, you can get it now because we'll be moving fast and I don't want you to miss anything. This one is a little more technical for me because I've had to learn to fall in love with it. So let's talk about self-taping. Right now, that's the big thing, And I suggest as artists, you should invest in self-taping. I just realized I don't have my earphones, but that's okay. We're going to keep moving forward. I suggest you should invest in self-taping. Think of it as payment for a class, because you will go out and you'll spend the money to have someone else self-tape you. That's going to cost you upwards of, I don't know, when I did it, when I was going to someone to get self-tape, it was somewhere $50 to $75 a pop. By the time you pay that 2 times, you bought your equipment. And sometimes you don't even need to buy a lot of equipment in order to invest in yourself for this. The things I have, what I use for my self-taping is my phone. I use my phone, a stand. This stand I use, now most people, the next thing that I'm going to show you after this stand is a beauty light. And that beauty light usually comes with a thing that you can clip your phone onto, but I like to have my stand because I have more flexibility with it and more flexibility with the usage of the light. So I have 2 things. I have my stand with a clip. This clip is what holds my phone, right? I got this at Best Buy. You can find it at any electric store, Fry's, anything that holds your phone onto your stand, right? You want to have that. And this thing, which I hope you can see because it's going to be very bright. My beauty light, which also comes with a stand. I got that beauty light off of Amazon. I didn't pay a lot of money for it, like $120. It came with the stand and with the bag, I believe. But you can get all of that stuff on Amazon and not pay too much for it. I recommend it. It's a lifesaver. I do, with my package, I got two different kinds of coloring, like a coral coloring and a white coloring. Most of the time I just use the white. So I have the stand, I have my phone, I have the stand for my phone, I have the stand for the beauty light, and I have the clip for the phone. Also, some people do backdrops. Here's your options for backdrop. You can do a sheet on the wall, flat color, no mix, plain. Don't do white. You can do blue. You can do gray. You can do this taupey color that I have on my wall. This is actually the wall I use. I actually take my artwork down, I move my table, and I use this flat color wall. You want a flat color. No pop on that wall. No semi-gloss. No, flat. Flat. Keep it clean and flat. You don't want anything to be that's going to take away from the work you're about to do on that camera. Anytime they catch one inkling of something, it'll throw them off. And I don't know what that is, but that's what happens. It throws them off. Their eye will go towards that. Even if you're doing great work, they'll see that thing. Yeah. Also, I know most people are, some people have Windows and some people have Mac. I'm a Mac person. I have this app. This app is called, I'm sorry, let me find it. It's called Video Crop. Video Crop. Write that down. Hopefully it'll come with PC as well. Video Crop will come in handy when you have to do a slate. We'll get to that in the second session. So the app Video Crop, and then the rest of the things I mentioned to you. Also, I recommend you get a program that you can work with, that you can do your editing on your computer. I use iMovie because I have Mac iMovie. So if you have Mac, iMovie is really easy to use. But if you don't, I looked up too and did a little research on one of them. That is really, really easy and really, really cheap, like $25 for PC, for Windows. There's one called Movavi, Movavi Video Editor. Movavi Video Editor. I liked what I saw when I did the research on it. They seem very user-friendly. They're very much in sync with what I think iMovie does. And so I like that. And then there's one called N as in Nancy, C as in Charlie, H as in Harry, software. You can check the Video Crop. NCH software, Video Crop. I looked them up too. I like Movavi better, but that's another one. And it's like $40 for that. And it gives you a lot of range that you can do with your editing. And make it easy to transmit that down to being able to send it via email. And that's the other thing. That's what I love about iMovie. I can do my work, edit it, and then send it through email to myself. So I have a smaller version of it. And then that's easy to send and it's easy to upload if you have to upload. It's just very user-friendly and it takes me no time. And in fact, the cool thing with iPhones right now is that they have that iMovie on your phone. So most times if I'm on the run, if I'm out of town, I do my editing and everything on my phone and send it from my phone. I do everything on the phone and it's really simple and easy to do. So those are the technical things you'll need to have for doing self-taping without having to spend a lot of money, without having to go out of your way a lot and put yourself out. That it just works out so well. And I've had bookings, so I know it works. I booked This Is Us on a self-tape. I booked a soon to be released, well, I don't know if it's soon to be released because I don't know if they got hit with the pandemic, but I did a gig in Savannah, Georgia with Barry Jenkins called The Underground Railroad. It's a really hot book right now that Oprah Winfrey's part of Oprah Winfrey Club. But I did a really nice moment on that. I booked that through self-taping. I booked a movie that I wasn't able to do through self-taping. So it works. It totally works. But you got to make sure that everything around you is clean and that you don't have a lot of stuff in your way in the process. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yes, cool. I know you do. There's a lot of people who faces I don't see. I would love to see y'all faces. Hey, Brandy, I see you back, girl. My girl, Dina Rutledge. Hey, girl. Hey, y'all can come on. I can see your faces because I'm talking to everybody. I'm doing this where I can see your faces and so I can feel like I'm having a conversation with you. Hey, how are you? Elizabeth, what's up, girl? Barry, where are you at, boo? Anyway, so that's what I got. So that's the first section because that part is very easy. It's a simple thing to get yourself prepared for. I think you should try to not spend tons of money on it. Just get what you need. And then the other important thing is an ally, somebody to work with you, a friend, a sister, a brother, to work with you when you're shooting your thing. Sometimes I've been in a situation where I've had to actually sit my computer up close to where I want to read and then have a friend FaceTime me and do the audition via FaceTime. So they're FaceTime talking to me with the live while I'm doing my scene. It is important to know that when you have somebody working with you, when they're standing behind the camera, they can't talk too loud. Their voice should not be higher or louder than yours. Also, when you ask them to read for you, ask them to not try to act too much. It's your job that you're trying to get. You don't want them to overshadow your work by overacting or putting too much into it. Let you, the artist, figure that thing out and create the emotion that you need without somebody else trying to give it to you. That'll also show just how talented you are at the same time. You understand what I'm saying? Yes, Dina, I see you're on, sister. Let me silence my phone. Okay, great. So we got that. We got Beauty Light. We got the clip for the phone. We got 2 stands in my case. We got the iMovie if you have iMovie if you're doing iPhone, or Movavi that I mentioned to you. We got. I'm just going down the list because I don't want to miss anything. I want to make sure you have everything that I can possibly give you. I want to make sure I give you everything. We got use a plain wall. A friend of mine did something I thought was interesting too. She bought construction paper and she put it up on her wall. That's another way that you can do it. I still recommend just a plain back wall if you got the space at home to do it. A plain back wall, a plain wall with a very basic color. And if you don't have a very basic color, maybe you just want to paint yourself in that space, a very plain, what's the word for it? A wall, a pop wall, right? So you do one wall in your house that's just a pop wall that you can use every time you do your self-taping. You know what I mean? Keep it simple like that. That way it doesn't cost you a lot of money. You don't have to do a lot of work in trying to get ready for the audition. The hardest thing I have to do is take down my pieces of art and move my table to the side. That's the hardest thing I have to do in getting ready for my self-tape because I just use this wall. I can't stress that enough because you're going to need to have your mind clear to get ready for your audition. You want to have to think of 1,000 things to do because if you have to put up a sheet every time you do it, or if you have to put up construction paper every time you do it, it sort of makes you begrudge having to get ready for your self-tape because already you're having to do something that normally you never would have to do. You would just walk into an audition, they would tape you and it's all done. Well, it's not like that anymore. It's great. let's move past this technical part. And let's start talking about the technique of self-taping. As I said before, whoever you get to read with you should be not as loud as you. That's important. And they should not give too much overacting. That's important, so that you, the artist, can sort of breathe through the character. It's important for you to be off script. Write that down. Be off script. For some reason, with self-tape, they require you to do something that they don't require you to do if you're walking in the door. If you're walking in the door, they require you to have that paper in hand and to look like you are not off script. Most people are off script, at least for me. I'm dyslexic, so I have to be off script or it's a mess, y'all. It's a mess. I have to be off. So it's important to be off script when you're doing self-tape. It's also important for you to not have the DTMs. A lot of people spend a lot of time doing a lot of extra stuff. The simpler, the better. I've said this many times that the television medium, especially the television medium and cable medium, is a writer's medium. It's all about the writer's words, and you have to be specific to the words. Don't add them. You can, though, and this is very important to know, you can ad-lib at the end. You can ad-lib your way out, or you can ad-lib your way in, but never ad-lib once you start into the dialogue as it's written. The writer's word is law. Deviate from the writer's word and you can guarantee mostly that you're not going to get the job. For some reason, that is a thing. I get it. You know, that's their power and they get to sit in it. So please know that that is an important thing. Except if you're auditioning for a film. The other thing too that you can get away with is, get away with it if you want to deviate a little bit from the lines, is if you're doing a second tape. So I like to do two. When I'm taping scenes, I like to do two of the scenes. I do one specific to the dialogue, and then I'll do another one with a quirk to it. I try not to change the dialogue, but I'll quirk it out a little bit. I'll give it another flavor. That way they get to see that you can change and be different each time you do the scene. Two scenes for each one. And then the reason I gave you my email address, I gave you my email address so that you can email me if you are interested. What I will send you is 2 videotapes of me, like for the jobs I booked. So I'll send you one that you know he booked on this one, so we know that works. I'll send you videos of 2 auditions of mine that I videoed, that I self-taped myself, and that I booked on or got an offer on. And I will send you slates so you can see what my slates look like and how they've worked for me. Because we're going to be talking about slates as well. Slates are really key elements to your audition. Your slate alone can get you in or out of a job. So I'll send you a slate and I'll send you 2 videos. I will also send you 2 different versions of what casting directors have sent to me for prepping for self-tape. And you'll find that you have to read everything that you get sent. So you'll have to read everything as written. So each casting director have a different take on what they want when you send a self-tape. So you have to be prepared to morph to that and know that it changes with every casting director. So I'll send you 2 different breakdowns of what casting directors have required from me so that you understand what that looks like. And your job is to read everything. When you get that audition breakdown, read every line. I have not read a couple of times and really gotten myself in trouble. So you need to read every line before you start anything, before you get excited about reading the sides that you got for the audition. Read everything so you have full knowledge of what you're jumping into, so that once you start your self-tape, you're clear in your head about where you're going. I just highly recommend that. That's important to me, at least, to have that information. So I'll send you 2 videos from me, 3 videos. There'll be a slate, 2 videos that I know worked, 2 different versions of what the casting offices will send for you to learn about how to send your self-tape in, exactly how to word your name, exactly how to put your takes that you're sending. It'll give you all of that information. So I'll send that to you, as well as links to other people's self-tape, so you see what other people besides myself look like. And these are recommendations that came through my casting came through my agency. So that'll be a big help in you seeing exactly what it's supposed to look like through other people besides myself. And I will send you, that's one more thing that I'm going to send. Or is that it? I think that's it. So email me and I will send those packets to you. So, and also on there will be links to places that actually do tapings. So if you don't want to do the self-tape, here's a place that's supposed to be affordable that you can go to do self-tapes. So I'll give you all of that information that will be helpful. And that's for the people who are in LA. So if you're not in LA, that portion of it I can't help you with, but at least you'll have information of places or things to do with the other information that I'm sending you. I hope I'm making myself clear or not rumbling. Okay, great. We're done there. So now we're into the self-taping part. That goes back to what I said last week. So let me go back to that for those of you who weren't with me. Last week I was talking about the you in auditions and how to be your authentic self in processing your character. Self-taping is the king of that. If you try to deviate from being your best self or yourself, and if you're really trying to create a special character without it being grounded, I can promise you it will fail. It will fail because what happens is the character comes off so much bigger than what you're trying to put out. And it reads through the camera like it's theater acting opposed to camera acting, which is based in self, which is based in honesty in the moment, which is based in wearing the skin of the character opposed to trying to create someone that is outside you that you're trying to inhabit. If you can find that thing inside yourself, then you've already got your self-tape grounded. And the other thing I should warn you about self-taping is that it's a friend and it's an enemy. Me, I'm type A. So I really have problems with self-taping because I'll start looking at my self-tape and I will start judging myself, and I will do it about 15, 20 times before I'm somewhat okay with sending it out. Most of the time, I end up sending off the first 2 or 3 takes opposed to the 15th tape I've done, because I wasn't happy with whether my jacket was on right or whether I'm very crazy like that. And I'm just keeping it real with you. If you keep it grounded and honest, you only need to do 2 or 3 tapes if you got the dialogue right. You don't need to overshoot it. Keep it real and honest. If you're sitting in the center of yourself, the first couple of takes are all you need. If you're doing it a different version of it, if you're keeping it grounded and honest, if you really know who you are as an actor and you're working from that internal space, you don't have to shoot too many times. Most times actors spend a lot of time reshooting because they're off in their head. For me, I'm off in Wonderland trying to make sure that I'm perfect when I don't have to be, because if I'm organically true and technically savvy, then everything that I need is already on the film. So you need to really focus at making sure that your take is clean, that the dialogue that is written on the paper is specific, and that your eye line is correct. So let's talk about eye line. When you go into a room for real with the casting director and they shoot you, they mostly stand just to the right or the left of the camera. And it's just to the right. Because what happens is, if I look like right now, I'm looking dead into the camera, which, by the way, you should never do. I'm looking dead into the camera right now. If I'm playing a character with the casting director, it's going to be right here. Do you see how just off to the side it is? Just off to the side. If you're reading with someone and if you play the scene too much this way, you can see that my face now is off, way off from the camera. And you're going to lose focus and they're going to lose seeing you because it looks like you're looking further away than you actually really are. So your focus should be just off of the camera. Now this thing gets tricky when there's 2 or 3 characters in the room, meaning you're playing to 2 or 3 different characters in the scene, yeah? So there's Johnny, there's Molly, and there's Ricky. Did you see that? Let me do it again. There's Johnny, there's Molly, and there's Ricky. Your eye line has to be specific when you're doing self-tape. That's the reason why it's important to be offline, because you need to be able to focus on where your eye line is going to be. Molly, Johnny, Molly, Ricky, Johnny, Molly, Ricky. Those things play heavy on the focus of where your eye line is and how just off the camera you are and how much you can play. Remember I said last week that the camera is small. It's a small entity. So you want to play specific. If every move you make is specific and clean and tight and honest, then you got something that's magical. The moment that is off, the moment that is not specific, it'll read. The camera picks up everything. It gets every move, it gets every real thought, and it gets every false thought. Last week, I talked about staring at yourself in the mirror and standing in a room with a group of people that you trust and having them tell you what they see. I did a class some years ago where we had an instructor that did that. And people were able to tell me exactly what they saw and things about myself, intimate things about myself that I didn't think anybody could see except for myself. But they saw them with me just standing in a room. Well, think of that multiplied in front of a camera, you see, because the camera picks up everything. It picks up everything, and I don't know how that happens, but it's a real thing. It gets every move. It gets every nuance. So you can get some richness out of a character by doing less and by sticking to the dialogue and being real. And if you are really wearing the skin of that character in front of the camera, then you will find creative moves and things to do that you didn't even know you had in you. That just sort of comes up out of nowhere. You just get those moments, those rich acting moments out of silent moments. You will get them. It will behoove you. You will be surprised and awed by what can come out of you by being true to yourself, keeping it simple, letting the dialogue speak for itself, and telling the truth. The truth is everything in self-tape. The truth is everything, because if you do that, you can get a lot of richness out of the character. I focus. I focus. I focus. I cannot express that enough. I focus. It's everything. I recommend before you start taping, once you get your camera set up, once you got your light set up, to go in front of the camera and do tests of eye focus before you shoot. Check out your characters, do the scene, run it, because you can erase all of that. Just run the camera, get in front, and try your eye focuses. Once you do it, go back and look at it until you got it right. Once it's set, you don't have to worry about it because you know exactly what you're doing. You got those eye focuses, that eye line prepped, and you don't have to worry about it anymore. And I do that every time I do self-tape. Every time I self-tape, I do it because each scene is singular of its own. So you want to just sort of check yourself. And sometimes you have to sit down in the scene. So if you're sitting down in the scene, that's a whole new entity, you know? So eye focus, eye focus, eye focus. Once you get that set, tell the truth, be honest with the scene. Do not have the DTMs. The DTMs can blow it. I probably should send you one of those too, because I've done that too, where it looks bad. It just comes off bad. Maybe I'll send you a bad one too, just, you know, because it happens to us all, and, you know, give you something to laugh at me about, which would be fun for me. I'm fine with that. What is the next thing? Tell the truth. I have to look at my list because I don't want to forget anything, y'all. I don't want to forget anything. That's the joy of teaching this class for me. Okay. So let's say you've laid down your scenes. You've gotten everything on the paper that you need to get on the paper, off and onto the side. And we'll talk about editing in a minute. Let's talk about slate. Your slate is quick and so important. For self-tape, it's sort of almost different than when you walk into the room, because when you walk into a room with the casting director, they get to see your personality right off. With a slate, you have a few things. Sometimes they'll say, just give us your name, your height, and where you're located. In that name, height, and location of where you're located, and just saying that, they need to see who you are, or who you want them to think you are in your life at this moment that you're wearing. In that time, you need to be able to share with them a little bit of your personality, because they're trying to figure out not only if your talent is good, but they want to know if you're somebody they actually want to work with. And so you got, what, 3 seconds to do that? Is that right, Brandy? About 3 seconds or less? Yeah. To do that and to convince them that you're the person. Me, I'm going to give you my name, my height, and location. Hey, I'm Harrison White, 5'10". I'm located in Los Angeles. A slate can make and break. Your shoulders need to be relaxed. Your arms need to be, everything in you needs to be relaxed. Because I tell you right now, I've had one slate that I did. I don't know what was wrong with me. I think it was late at night. I was so tired, I looked like a box. Harrison White, 5'10", Los Angeles. It was horrible. It was bad. Slate can make or break your audition. Comfortable. You need to be in your skin. You need to be real, and you need to show them a little charm. You know, you can get hope everything is great where you are. I'm Harrison White, 5'10", located in Los Angeles. And then there needs to be a body shot. For some reason, with my thing, I can't get a full body shot. So what I do is I do my slate up close. And then I do the body shot. I take my camera back and get where I can get my full body. And then I'll shoot it. Now in my space, I got some furniture that gets in the way. So what I do is I make sure that I am center of my phone for the slate, center of it. And then I use that cropping app that I told you about to crop out the sides. It is important in your shoot that your phone shoots this way and not this way. This way, not this way. And I do it with my camera up. So this way, not this way. That is very important. Always. Horizontal, right? Horizontal, is that right? Thank you. Thanks, Sherry. Horizontal. Even for your slate, horizontal. That thing will tick them off. So that when you do your crop and you pull it in, it still looks like a shot horizontally. Yeah. So what I do when I edit it, I do what I'm saying first, and then I let it just stream right on to and then I connect the full body shot. Um, this should only take literally seconds. Like you say your slate, and then 2 seconds of you standing there. They don't want a long time watching you stand there. They don't need that. They just need to see what your body type is and move on. Your slate should be literally 3 seconds, 4 seconds long, 5 seconds maybe, and that's it. Because everything for them is about time. They need to move through God knows a buttload of people, and so they don't want to spend a lot of time on nobody. They need to move through unless you stop them with your audition. But if your slate is tight, then they're gonna be interested in everything else. It really is. So let's talk about, this is great, because I'm literally, right now, where my body is right now, that's how much of your body they want to see in your shoot. Just a little bit overhead and right at the chest. This is important. This information is important. If it's too much body, they're not interested. Sometimes I shoot this much. Yeah, but nothing more than that. They want to see your face. Hence why the words are important. You know, they're thinking about what the camera is going to pick up and what the camera is going to see. This is all they need. Do your slate that way, do your scene that way, and then do a full body shot. Got that down, everybody? Cool. Cotton, where you at? Are you in LA? LA?
No, I'm from San Diego.
San Diego, what's up, boo? Okay. Let me know when you all are ready. I'm waiting to see, make sure everybody's ready. You good, Elizabeth? That's my goddaughter. Hi, baby. Love you. And my little sister is here with me too. Hey, Yvonne. So excited. She came and took class last week as well, y'all. My little sister came and took class with me last week, and she's here again this week. Shout out to my baby. Jacqueline, glad to see you back, and Brittany, and Tawny. So happy you guys came back, and my girl Brandy. Brandy, can I say it, Brandy? Brandy's a casting director. She's one of my BFFs forever. She's forever. She's everything to me. I've known her for quite some time, but she wasn't a casting director, and I've watched her grow, and she's amazing. So, Brandy, thank you for coming to be here and support and love up on me. I love you so much. She's in Atlanta. She's my girl. I love you, Dina. Mzimu. So now we got this. This is important. You're shooting here, right? You're keeping it under. And you see, just with me talking to you, how important it is to keep it real and simple and honest. Because right now I feel like I'm a little big sometimes for what we do on camera for shooting for television and film. With the exception, once again, with the exception for Disney and Nickelodeon. Let me say that again, with the exception for Disney and Nickelodeon. If you're doing an audition for Disney and Nickelodeon, we brighten that thing up. It's just one step before stage. It's just bright, happy, peppy. There's a pop to that. You can do that with those shows. But when it comes to network television, if it's network television specifically, it's really truly about the dialogue and what the writer wrote and getting those words out with feeling. If you're doing cable, you get a little more breath with cable. It's more closer to film, television and film. You get a little more break unless it's cable sitcom-y. like I did an episode of the Kaminsky Method. Kaminsky Method, while it wasn't over the top, it was still a single camera comedy. So you still had to work from a grounded base. Your dialogue still had to move as if you were doing network comedy. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So the dialogue still has to move. You don't get a lot of breathing time with the character. And this is important. Last week I talked about network television, Nickelodeon, Disney. They're in the same grade. They're in the same space. Cable and cable. And there's different ways to approach them all. You have to approach them differently. Disney is with the pop, is really bright. Network is specific to the words written. Do not deviate from the words written on the page. And that's the same with cable, except cable, you get to breathe a little bit and it's more like film. And with film, that's the only place where you can actually play around with the dialogue a little bit. Give the writer what he wrote, but if you feel a little extra something, you can step in it just a little bit without insulting them. So know that, because those things are important to your self-taping too. Those things are key to how they see you and if they'll continue to watch. Sometimes I've known situations where casting directors are watching the scene and somebody says the line wrong or flip a word and it ends right there. That's it. They move on to the next. So please be specific to that. Please remember that I suggest you do 2 scenes of each scene that you do. So if you have 3 scenes, 3 different scenes, you're going to go out with 6 takes on that. And for all of that, only 1 slate. You'll only need 1 slate. In that package that I'm going to send you, it tells you how to write out each one of those and how to write what take it is and what scene it is. When you send it, especially if you're uploading to, like, let's say Actors Access, don't put them all together. Do not edit them all together. Edit them each separately. So you're sending the slate separately and each scene and take separately in the pack. So like on Actors Access, it'll let you pick each one. So like when I upload it, I upload them all into one email, but they're all separate. And that's important because nobody's going to sit and watch it. If they like the first scene that you've done, the first take, they don't need to watch the second one, but they'll have it because if the producer or the writer wants to see more, that more will be there and available to them. It also gives you an opportunity to show your range. Yeah, but make sure it's tight and right. Cool. Okay, I don't want to leave out anything. I want to make sure I get everything. So now we were talking about the personality and the slate. Try not to come up with anything super quirky, right? Like try not to make up something, try not to be clever in your slate. Try to keep it real and honest in your slate. You know, even if you're showing a little personality, even if you decide that you want to show a little sexy, especially for the women and the men too. If you want to show a little sexy, even in that, try not to come off smarmy, try not to come off over the top, try not to push too much. Sometimes it's great to give the slate from the character's perspective opposed to giving it from your own perspective of who you are. Because even that is important. It has validity. That's valid. If you're doing your slate from the character, then it keeps them in line of the character. I didn't have to do a self-tape for this, but when I went in for How to Get Away with Murder and booked a character, well, from the moment I walked into the room, I was a smarmy, nasty, slick pawn shop clerk. And I kept that until I walked out the door. So he didn't see me. The casting director didn't see Harrison until he came to see me in a play months later. He didn't see Harrison. All he saw was the pawn shop person, right? And he said to me, "Oh my God, you really know that character." And I turned back to him in my slimy self and said, "Yeah, I do. I know him very well." And I walked out the door. So he didn't see me, because the last time I had auditioned for him and he saw me, he didn't hire me, right? He didn't hire me because he thought he didn't like that what he saw, and sometimes that happens. I carried me in the room and then I did the character, right? So it didn't feel like he saw me. I thought the character was great, but he wasn't feeling me. And I thought, well, let me try it this way. Let me just walk in as the character and stay the character, never let him see Harrison, and see what that does. And I booked the job. I got the offer before I even got home. I was driving home when the offer came. I had just left the office. So sometimes it works like that. I recommend, sometimes depending on the character, don't let them see you. Let them only see the character. But you get to pick and choose. And what you can also do is shoot 2 different slates. Shoot a slate as the character, shoot a slate as you, and see which one you like. And send it, because the weight of everything you do, and this is important, and I suggest you write it down. These words have never been truer. The weight of everything you do for that audition falls on you. The weight of everything you do falls on you, because you have nobody in the room to say, okay, do it again, but do this, 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 and that. Because that's the luxury you get when you walk inside of a room. They'll ask you to do it again, and can you do this, this, and that? You don't get that on the self-tape. That's why it's good to do 2 different slates, 2 different takes, because you can show them the ability that you can move and you can transfer to a different idea with the same character. I've walked into rooms and I said, I'm more interested in what your thought is on this character, because I'm looking at the scene and I can tell you right now I can do this in 100 ways. I have 100 different ways I can do this. And that they laugh, and I usually book from that question. Well, you don't get that on a self-tape. So how can you transfer that thought in a self-tape? Because all the weight falls on you. Though I say this heavy thing, I also say don't overdo it in the taping because you don't like it. Sometimes the most interesting things about yourself are the things you don't like. For me, with headshots, I used to pick all my headshots and then give them to people and then tell them that's the ones I want. And sometimes I got calls and sometimes I didn't. Now what I do with my agent is I pick my favorite ones, and then I pick a group of ones that I would never usually pick, and I give those to the agency and I let them pick it. And 9 times out of 10, the ones that I would not pick are the very ones that they pick. 9 times out of 10, I get calls on those pictures that I would not normally use because I don't see myself that way. That's why when you're doing a self-tape, your first 3, 4 takes, you got everything you need. If you got the dialogue right, you got everything you need. Anything beyond that is like abusing yourself. And I'm an abuser, so I can tell you. I abuse myself every time I self-tape, and I have to stop. I work at it every time, trying to get myself to a place where I'm not overdoing it. I just sent off a tape a week or so ago, and it was the funnest taping I've done because it took me no time to do it, and I trusted myself, and I got 2 different takes on the thing, and I sent it off. I'm like, whatever they decide is fine because I'm okay with that. It was really great. And then my agent wrote back, "You're shining in this. You're glowing in this." And I'm like, great. But I didn't overdo it. It was like so good to like do something and not overdo it and not push. If you trust yourself as an actor, and this is important, and that should also tell you whether you should be in the business or not. If you trust yourself as an actor, you don't have to kill yourself trying to get something on tape. If you're honest to the lines, if you're honest to the story, if you can feel that character on your body as if it is part of who you are, if you're breathing that character, you don't have to do a lot of work. I also suggest that in self-tape, when you're doing a self-tape, you think about your person that you're speaking to as a conversation across the table. When you're talking with your friends and you're having a conversation and it's just honest and real, especially for television and film, that's all you need to give. The camera's going to pick up everything else. It's just a conversation across the table. Do you all understand what I mean by that? It's like sitting down at Starbucks and having a really good conversation with your friend, or a broke down one if the situation is really dramatic. But whatever that conversation is, it's happening across the table. It's not happening in the space that's big. The space that you're in is the space that you're inhabiting. That should only give you temperature and mood. It should not dictate how big and broad it is. As is in life. When you're in your kitchen, you're not dancing around the kitchen because it's the kitchen and everything is big. It's a real conversation of cutting and chopping and, Oh, let's talk about that too. In self-tape, try not to have too many props, y'all. The only one I recommend ever is if you have to have a phone conversation and you need a phone, go ahead with that. But if you got hand business, that's why it's good to shoot from here. Do all your hand business as if you're doing the stuff, even if you decide to use a pad, like your character is writing something and you need to have that, have it down here. Don't let them see that pad. They don't need to see any of that. You can do all your action. Well, what did you say? He said, okay, but that's not what he said. He said, Johnny, right. Okay, so I got it. Great. Well, where are you going? All right. I'll write it down. But all of that is happening under the camera. You see what I'm saying? They can see that the action is happening, but they don't need to see props. Little to no props. We are creative beings. Make it happen. You down with me? I don't want to forget the prop part. Okay, great. I'm checking time because I want to make sure I don't overdo it, and I want you all to ask questions. Please feel free. So I hope you're writing down questions because I'm willing to answer any questions I have that I could possibly get out to you when we get to the end of this. So let me make sure we got the slate information down. We talked about how to shoot it. We talked about the scene and about being honest with the scenes and all the scene work and how to approach it, about being honest and not having tons of props or any props. We talked about eye line, right? We talked about eye line and how to make sure you keep everything close to where the camera is, but just off of the camera. Yeah? So you're playing your characters, play them tight, but not into the camera. Do not, for God's sake, look into the camera. That's very important. We talked about being true and honest to the character, when the skin of the character, because the camera picks up on everything. Simplicity is key. But keeping it honest and real, like you're having a conversation across the table. We talked about that. I don't want to miss anything. We talked about what tools you should possibly purchase. I really do believe that investing in yourself for the safe self-tape is a good idea. Beauty light, you can find those on Amazon. Clips, you can buy the clips for the phone at Best Buy or Fry's, or mine is a Manfrotto. I don't even know who that company is. Manfrotto, Manfrotto. That's what my clip is, and I love this clip. It's really good and handy. Camera stands, a camera stand for your phone, and a stand for your beauty light. Usually, you can buy that beauty light with the stand. It comes with it. Check that out on Amazon. It's not going to cost you too much. We talked about having a plain color background. No fun colors. Keep it simple. And if you have a color that actually your skin color pops off of, like let's say a blue, and you're standing in front of that blue and your skin color pops off, that's even more helpful because it's going to make you shine and they're going to see you clear. That's important too. We talked about how far to shoot. It's like, okay, I'm just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. We talked about being true to the character. Great. Okay, let's get, hey, Gigi. See if Gigi's here. And we're going to start some question and answers. I'd love to do that. You know what? I'm just going to...
I'm here. I'm here. My camera's not working. Hold on.
Camera. Okay, Gigi's here. So listen, guys, if you have any questions, the best way for me to facilitate that is to type it into the chat, which is down at the bottom. Type it into the chat, and then Gigi will read them off. Oh, also type your name so I'll know who I'm talking to specifically. Because right now I can see everybody's face, and so I can talk to you specifically. And that will
there we go.
There you are. Hey, girl. And then that way I can speak to you specifically and ask anything you want, even if it's outside of this. I'll answer that too.
You know, I already see a really good question, and it was one I was going to ask, and that is a suggestion on what kind of clothes you should be wearing. I mean, anything too suggestive, anything that just kind of muted, depending, should you wear something that would be more of character? What would be your suggestion?
For me, I suggest suggestive. Don't overdo it. Though sometimes I have. Sometimes I actually booked with a overdoing it, but for me, I like to have something that feels like it's in the skin of the character. Like I did this one audition for this dad who was trying to dress like he was hip, like the young people. You know, he's going to this club with all these young people and he's trying to dress like he's hip. Well, for me, I needed to feel all of that. So for that particular audition, I dressed like the character in my mind would be. And I actually got an offer for that. Most of the time, I dress suggestively in the direction towards the character, not fully. I try to wear things that are going to sort of put me in the feeling of it so I don't have to try to think too much. I just like to wear the character. I like to feel like I'm breathing inside of that character when I'm doing it. So I wear something suggestive, you know. When I auditioned for the Underground Railroad, I refused to wear shoes every time I auditioned for it. I auditioned for it twice. I wouldn't wear shoes because I wanted to feel like my feet were in the dirt in the South at this time, struggling. So sometimes it's something like that, something as simple as that, but suggestive. Keep it clean and tight. Don't overdo it. So thanks for asking that question because I meant to talk about that too, and I forgot to talk about clothing is a really interesting thing for self-taping. But let the size dictate it. If you find that you can't get inside that character unless you dress that character, then by all means, dress that character. And then I also suggest that you stay that character in your slate. Just never leave the character. You see? That's when it works for you. And that's how I approached that whole audition, by the way. I stayed in the character in my slate and everything. Just, I stayed that guy, you know?
That's a great suggestion. I mean, for the ladies, though, sometimes suggestive could be maybe sometimes it's a little too much, too little. What do you think? You know, in this day and age, we want to just make sure that we're appropriate, even though a character might be, let's just say, a saucy old lady like me. Mm-hmm. But you don't want to, you know, dress too provocatively, I guess, is what my concern is now in this world. What are your thoughts on that?
I think you're absolutely right. I think you nailed it. I think, you know, if she's saucy, do it in colors. Let your sauciness come out in colors, opposed to doing something too bawdy. Yeah, right? Keep it real. Let the casting director, let the costumer do their job. I'll do it in a pop of color and then bring that out in the character. Or, you know, if you could do something suggestively to your hair. Women have more range than men have. We don't have as much range as women do. So you can do something suggestively to your hair. You can flip that hair a certain way and then wear a pop of color and you can kill it, right? You know, if you're doing sexy, especially for younger girls, and that is a hard call with that. I would do something that just shows my figure without being nasty, if that makes sense. Something that shows that I have a really nice figure without having to put all my boobs out, you know?
Right. Okay.
But then make sure it speaks to the character. That's important. It always should speak to the character. Now, if you don't have a problem with, like, I have a friend who did something for a police officer, but they talk about in the description, they talk about her being beautiful and sexy. So then she wore a tank top, but it was a nice tank top. It showed off her figure without her being too suggestive. You see? Keep it clean, keep it smart.
Yeah, that's the thing. As ladies, you know, or women roles these days, we want to be professional, show, you know, our look, but yet not be too provocative. Um, just so our talent can shine through and our beauty. I think that's the
play to the character. Play to the character that you're playing.
okay.
You know, that's why sometimes it's really great to be able to just keep the character in the full slate. But then the other half of that offering, though, is that you want them to know that you're somebody they want to have in the room, and that's important. You know, somebody that they want to keep around. For those of you who weren't here last week, I talked about when I did Seven, the movie Seven, and I was supposed to shoot 3 days, and I ended up working 7 days on Seven because at the end, the first AD said to me, "You're the kind of person we like to have around." Well, that happened all through my audition. It didn't just happen in the room. When I did the audition, the first time, which was for a whole different character, by the way. The character that I booked had nothing to do with the character. They were complete opposite of the character that I auditioned for. The character I auditioned for was a guy who worked in, I needed to be in the skin of this character. So I walked in, I had taken a ear clip and put it on my nose, so it was like a nose ring, and I had an earring dangling, I had like a leather top on, and I walked in grimy, and I laid this character out, right? Then I finished and I did my slate, right? And before I left the room, I turned back around. I said, "Hey, I understand that you were also looking to see if you can do this with an accent." He goes, "Oh, you got an accent?" I said, "Yeah, I did." Now, my first Broadway show was Serafina. It's out of South Africa. And so I broke into a South African thing and did this character in the South African dialogue. And by the time I finished, the casting director had started laughing and put his hands over the camera because he couldn't take it. Well, all of that went to the director. All of that made a difference in me getting that job, the job I got. They said, "Well, you're not getting this character, but we're putting you in the movie." So I ended up playing on the SWAT team opposed to playing this character. But the thing was, they wanted me in the room. And then once I got in the room, they liked what they had. And they kept me 7 days, 7 days on Seven. When I tell you those residuals were sweet for a minute, oh my God. But it was all because I brought Harrison into the room. I kept it honest. I kept it real. I stayed within the confines of the character. I breathed through the character, and I just kept that thing going. Once you get inside of a room, there can be magic if you're not nervous. If you're inside of a room and you're nervous, your game is already off, you know? And
Right.
I can tell you right now, to this very day, I still get nervous. I still do. But now I have a mechanism that I work with, meditation, all this stuff. I breathe through it because I know that I'm worthy. And that's that thing I was talking about last week about your own diva, finding your own personal diva in yourself so that you carry the diva into the room with you and know that you're worthy to have that job. I know 1,000 people are going for it, but all of you are worthy. So now it's just what works for them. If you don't book a job, it doesn't mean that you're not talented. It just means that what works for them at that moment is somebody else.
That's
and your
correct.
job is waiting for you to get there. So just keep it real, keep it honest, and it's going to be popping.
Fantastic. Well, we have a few more questions. Well, speaking of divas, I aspire to be diva-like this beautiful woman. Isn't she just amazing? Okay, I want to make sure I pronounce this correctly. So if I don't, I apologize. Is it Mali? Tell me.
Miley. It's Miley.
Miley. Okay. What's the biggest don't to do on a self-tape?
Good question, Miley. The biggest don't. Wow, that's a good one, Miley. The biggest don't is to look into the camera, directly into the camera. Only time you can get to do that is on your slate. Now do look directly into the camera for your slate, folks. For your slate, do. I'm gonna give you a couple of don'ts, Miley. Don't look directly into the camera for your scene. Only at your scene partners and the fictitious characters if it's more than one. So you got your scene partner and then 2 fictitious characters, let's say that for now. Only look at those. And do not play your scene this way. Huge don't.
Mm-hmm.
Besides the fact that they won't see you. Don't try to be creative. Don't try to think outside the box that way. Nobody cares. You will be gone. They will not watch your scene.
Okay. Another question we have from Cindy. Cindy, can you use your own voice as a reader?
I don't recommend it. But if you're stuck, if that's the only thing you got, oh yeah, you can. There's an app that I use called, let me pull it up. Give me a second. I have an app that I use. I use this app, Cindy, to run my lines. And I have used it to do an audition when I couldn't get anyone, when my husband was working and my friends were not available. I have done that. So yeah, I don't recommend it, but yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. Let me find this app. Let's keep talking. Oh, it's called Off Book.
Off Book, aptly named. Off Book.
Oh, you can't see.
I'm gonna write that down. Off Book, and that's the name of the app.
That's the name of the app. It's called Off Book. Type that into.
I did.
Thank you. So, you sure did. Look at you, boo. Off Book.
Off Book. Well, I think that'd be good for all of us.
Yes. Also, type in video crop again, just so if you can get that video crop.
Got it.
Use that for taking off the edges. Video crop.
Got it.
Video crop app.
Okay. I have another question. Keegan Edwards, what is your suggestions or advice for sending in self-tapes in high school / college for colleges or other outlets?
What is my advice for that? Explain that a little bit more for me.
Keegan, you want to unmute yourself?
The beauty for that is you don't have to shoot as close up, right? For theater, you get to shoot all the way to at least down to your navel and just a little head space, so they can see a little bit more of your body. And it can also be, well, now theater has morphed to more television, film acting. It's not as broad as it used to be. So keep it real, keep it honest, Keegan, and make sure everything is focused towards the reader. Yeah, make sure your reader is just off the corner of the camera.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
That's great advice, and I'm sure if you're applying for school too, they would have their parameters, right? Right. Harrison. Yeah, so just checking in with everybody.
Yeah, they should see parameters of what they're looking for as well. But just so you know right off the top, that's the best way to send. Also send a slate. Hi, I'm blah, blah, blah. I'm Keegan. I'm 5'10", blah, blah, blah. Do all of that too. Do the slate anyway and send it separately. Send it with the thing, but separate as its own separate entity. And then I would also say, if you're just looking to figure out, like trying to get work, I don't know if you're in California, Keegan, but if you are, go on Actors Access, join that. Actors Access is free to join. And you can start sending yourself in for, if you're not union yet, you can start looking at non-union jobs and doing self-tapes for that. It'll give you practice, right? For all of you who are not union yet, if you're not union and you still want to participate, there's work to be had. There are non-union jobs until you get your union card, right? Go on Actors Access, join Actors Access, and start submitting yourself for non-union work and getting that so you can get the footage so that you can build a really nice reel. I have a wonderful reel. You build a reel, then people can see when you start submitting for agencies, when you want to get a good agent, you have a reel and proof that you can do this thing, right? Called acting, right? And that you can handle the camera.
You know, and Keegan, if you want to put together a tape and then send it Insta and tag TJ Dawson, I believe it's T Dawson 81. He's not here, so I'm going to volunteer him to look at it and give you some notes, okay?
That would be great. 3D Theatricals is everything. Have you seen any of their shows, Keegan? It's top notch with them all the time. I did Parade with them, and it was transformative for me as an actor. I don't know if I could have done that show again emotionally, because it took me about 3 months to come down from that character that I was playing and the situation that he was in. I really had to dive inside of him to play it. And I thought if I did that show for a year, I would have needed therapy for about 3 years after that. It was rough going, because of the storyline for that musical, but it was all top notch costumes, music, the musical directors, that everybody at 3D is everything. Listen, if you can get in the door at 3D, boo, I'm just saying. So yeah, send that off. Let them see you.
Yeah, you do that. You say Gigi sent me.
That's it. Yes.
He loves it when I do that.
That's it.
But he's a love. Okay, let's keep going. I hope that answers your question, Keegan. And good on you for being here today.
Yes.
Brittany, the beautiful Brittany Anderson.
Hey, what you got?
Would it be worth purchasing a phone with a better camera for self-tapes? Is the first part of our question. The second is, and how do you suggest memorizing lines before you film your tape, especially if you get the breakdown on short notice?
That's a good one. Yeah, Mama, if you can afford it, yeah. It's your career, Brittany.
Yeah.
Your career. And so you always want the best for you. So yeah, I wouldn't be beyond that. Yeah, I totally would. That's why I haven't gotten rid of my iPhone. I keep an iPhone only because I know I'm going to get some quality, and I know I can use it. It's user-friendly for me to do my stuff. Otherwise, I would have dropped iPhone by now. But the truth is, I know I can do everything I need with that iPhone and not have to struggle. Yeah. And then the other question was?
Memorizing lines, especially if you get things short notice.
As I told you before, I'm dyslexic, right? So this off-book app helps a lot with recording it and trying to do it if it's on short notice. But the other thing is just seeing it over and over again, running it through. Also, what also helps me, Brittany, was that thing I talked about last week about before I start learning the lines, I look at the character as it's written within the context, right? And I think about what the character said before he came onto the camera and what the character is saying after he goes off the camera. I think about what the weather is like at the time of the year it's like. I think about what the character's, I always think, the first thing I always ask myself is, what's the character's favorite color? It's just something I do. So I try to build the life of the character as quick as possible, right? Look at it, see what the other character says about this character, if he does say anything about it, you know what I mean? Or how he reacts to that character. Before I start learning the line, I write those down in notations, right? Before I start learning the lines. Once I got that, then I think about that as I'm learning the line, because then it gives me reason for why the character's saying what he's saying. Even if it's one word, believe it or not, that thing works, right? So you got to build that character in the sense so that when you're learning the lines, you're sort of just putting them on. You're not trying to jump into the character. You're putting the character into yourself so that it's natural, right? You never want to try to work outside in. You want to work inside out for film and television. Always inside out, not outside in. I use outside in when I'm doing theater. I use inside out when I'm doing film and television.
Okay. Let's see. Brandy has a question. I don't have a question, but a quick message to share from a CD standpoint if you are interested.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Can we do it verbally? Turn your microphone on, y'all.
And my office mate is our casting director at 3D, and I'll tell you, and now this is our new world. So maybe we won't be inside the room where it happens anymore. It's going to be all on video. and then you might be called in. So keeping it simple, making the return of investment, and like you asked Brittany, like a new camera or something, it's going to be worth it because you're just going to need to on the fly, like Brandy described that one lady. She wouldn't have gotten that part if she just didn't let it go and just make it simple and film herself and send it in.
Y'all, we have a mini computer in our hands. This is a mini computer now that we carry in our hands. This little thing can change your life. Really. You know, so when I find myself a lot of times going, oh my God, what am I thinking about? I have a computer in my hand. I have to remind myself all the time, I can do everything I need right here. Right here.
We've got the world in the palm of our hands now. It's amazing.
Everything you need is already there.
Okay, Colden Lamb. Colden, I want to know, I know you want us to be off book. What is your opinion of having the script quietly in your hand while recording?
If you got pages, I can promise you it's not going to be quietly. Colden, it's not going to be quiet. It always the moment you have to shift the page to get to the lines on the next page, you're already in trouble. They will hear it. But if you can, and you can do it without looking like you're looking at the paper, and you can do it where it's not in your way, yes, do it. But here's the thing. If you book the job, you're going to be off script. And you didn't take it with me last week, right? Great. Okay. So last week I was talking about if you're walking into a room with the casting director, you better have that script in your hand. You have to have the script in your hand. For self-taping, different world altogether. Yeah. So it's really different. If you get to go in the room with the casting director, have that paper in your hand because they don't want to feel like you know it and you got that character built. But for some reason, with self-taping, they want you off script. They want you off book. They ask for it off book.
Yes.
And then you create it. That's why I say all of it falls into your hand. It all falls into your hand where it doesn't when you're going into the office with the casting director. Because they will give you an adjustment and you better be ready to make that adjustment in the room.
Okay, great question. Thanks for Colden for asking that. Elizabeth, do you always need to state your height and body shots, or only if the casting director asks for it? So I guess when you slate, do you need to state all that?
Only if the casting director asks for it. They will say specifically. That's why I'm sending you those versions of it. They will say specifically what they're asking for, right? In that when they send you the breakdown of the character that you're auditioning for, and they'll send you information for the information for the self-tape. They'll send you all of that. So then you'll find that information in that. But here's the catch. If they don't send you anything, I just had one of those where they didn't send me any information. So what I did was I did my name, my height, my city I'm located in, and my agency. My name, my height, the city I'm located in, and my agency. Height is important because depending on who the star is, who the lead is, they want to know how you compare body size to them. That height, believe it or not, can take away a job, you know. So it is.
Yeah, I'm 5'11".
That's the beauty of that. And here's the thing, and this is not to say that you haven't. What I'm going to say to you is this, Elizabeth. Walk confidently in all of it. The height, you're gorgeous. I'm looking at your face, you're gorgeous. And I bet you with makeup, you kill a room, right? If you let your diva walk inside the room, even in the self-tape, you'll get the job. It'll start changing. Okay. It'll start changing because they'll make the room. But believe it or not, that self-conscious you have about it, believe it or not, it reads across the camera. Okay. Even though you think you don't. So my challenge for you is to let that go because you got everything else going on. I several times my eyes have shot over to you because you pop. You just automatically have a pop. right? You let that shine from now on. The rest of it, don't think about your height. You'll start booking more.
Of the franchises, film or TV, which is the easiest, which is the hardest to kind of break into? I think that's a difficult question.
It is a difficult question because it really is the moment that you're in. I
Mm-hmm.
will say you're really young right now, so I think the world is your oyster right now. All of it. If you can get the right agency, it doesn't matter. That question doesn't matter. It's not until you get upwards past 30 that things start getting a little tricky. Yeah. But right now, coming out of high school, right now, you can do just about anything. Yeah. So yes to all of it.
Yes. And if I could talk to my younger self, Keegan, don't be afraid. Just go for it. Ask people, hey, will you let me do this? Hey, will you give me this job? Hey, can I shadow you? The worst thing that you'll get is a no, and then you're in the same boat you were before. But you'd be surprised how many doors would open.
Oh my God. Gigi, you win for that. You win for that. If you open your mouth. I told you all last week, you weren't here, Keegan, last week, right? You weren't here with me last week, right?
Right.
Last week I talked about how I got my first Broadway show. I went and I sweet talked a guy that was sitting at the desk for the equity office because I was not equity. And I sweet talked this guy into taking a letter back to the casting director, right? But if I hadn't been audacious, the casting director would have never came out and spoken to me. I would have never called me in for another private audition, and I would have never booked my first Broadway show. But it was because I opened my mouth. A closed mouth never gets fed. And you don't have to be rude when you open your mouth to ask. Just ask. If somebody says no to you, it doesn't make it bad. It just means they just said no for that situation. Okay, cool. Then I'll just ask somebody else about something else. No does not destroy you. And if it does destroy you, or if it does diminish you, it means that you went in with the wrong purpose.
Don't leave opportunities on the table, Keegan.
Oh my God, don't do it.
Don't do it. That's for everybody. Because you're all so beautiful and young and you got so much going for you. Okay, we've got a couple more minutes here. Last question. Cindy, what if I look 20 but I'm over 30? What are your, and then I'm going to here's the last few questions. What are your general thoughts on ethnically ambiguous casting? What if I look 20s, even if I'm over 30? And is it good to be a queer artist in the industry?
Wow.
Yeah, okay. That's a lot. I'm sorry. I'm trying to consolidate them all. I figured I'd get three good ones and push them together.
If you look your 20s and you're 30, then play to the character that you look. You know what I mean? Just play to it. Get yourself in the door. I said this last week. Get yourself in the door and then try to make the changes. Don't try to rush to make changes when you're not even inside. If you look like you're in your 20s, girl, and those roles are hot right now, play to it. Also, Miss Thing, racially ambiguous is hot right now. That shouldn't even be a question. It's the hottest thing in the room right now. Go for it. Use it to your advantage. It's hot. As far as whether you're gay or straight or whatever that thing is, play to the character. Always play to the character that you're auditioning for. Deal with that first. If the character is a gay, listen, I'm not a drag queen. I don't do drag queen in my life, but I have played more drag queens than I can count on my hand. I've played about 5 or 6 drag queens in separate things. I don't like dressing up in drag. I am very uncomfortable with it. I have played a million drag queens. So play the characters that you're auditioning for. Play that. That's the job, right? That's what the writer's written for. And then if a character that is gay, or I'm all for playing you send it to me. If I can put that character on, I'm playing him or her. So that's my answer to that. Don't let your sexuality be the benchmark for who you are, because that's different. Me, I'm a Black man who happens to be gay, but I'm a man first, That's the image people see when I walk into a room. Everything after that is what I allow them to see or what I put on as an artist. But I do not diminish my gayness. I'm a happy gay man with a daughter and a husband. I walk in that. Except when I go to do my job, it's not about who I am at home. It's about who the character is.
And that's a good place to stop. I mean, we've had a wonderful session.
It's over again.
This has been heaven. I know an hour and a half with you, my dear, just goes by so fast.
I feel like every time I feel like I'm not going to have enough to say or enough to do, and then we get to the end, I'm like, I got so much more to talk about. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. I mean, thank you, everybody, for joining us today. I think this was a really wonderful, inspirational session full of great information. We have put Harrison's email in the chat. I hope you have that so you can reach out and ask him questions.
Follow him. Any questions, feel free to ask. I will answer. You can always use that email address. I'll check it. I check it. It's my business once. I don't look at it every day, but I check it from time to time. If you have any questions, I promise you I will answer them at my earliest convenience because I want to be of service. You know, I'm not just, you know, I've done this as a selfish artist for a long time. I'm at that point in my life now where I want to be of service. So if I can help you, that only makes life better for me. And I know that seems weird, but it really does. If I see somebody book something, I have had friends who got agents because of me, people who book things because of me. And when I look at that, it makes me shine on the inside because I feel like I've done something good with my life. And so that's why I said yes to this class. So please feel free to ask. If I have the answer, I'll tell you. If I don't know the answer, I will tell you that too. I'm going to keep it real with you. Just know I'm going to keep it real and honest with you. And if you can handle real and honest, we got a party.
We sure do. And we always have a party going on here at 3D+U.
Yes.
You know, I think we make a good team, Harrison. Maybe we should talk TJ into giving us our own show. We can have our own talk show. What do you think?
I think that would be hot, and I think I will second you on that. I'm going to text about that.
All right. So everybody write in. We need some write-in votes. So give Harrison Gigi their own talk show. We are so happy that you joined us.
Thank you for coming. That she leave my goddaughter was here. Oh, made me so happy.
It is not by any means required, but we are a nonprofit organization. Should you feel inclined to give a donation to 3D Theatricals, you can visit us on our website, 3dtheatricals.org. We cannot wait till we can all gather again inside a theater and do what we do best, perform, sing, and then the hugs. We got to get back to hugging each other again. We can't wait to do that. And in the meantime, we're so happy to provide you these sessions so you can learn and grow. And when you're ready, when the world opens up again, you're even better than you were before, armed with this great information. And the fact that this gentleman, this kind-hearted, gorgeous, wonderful gift of a man, Harrison, that you were able to share your gifts with us today, we're so grateful. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, all right, everybody.
Bye.
Have a great afternoon. Bye.
I'm calling you today.
Kiss Sadie for me, Harrison.
Bye. I will.